Hello everyone. Welcome to English 1301. My name is Robin Bell and I'll be your English instructor this semester. This is a welcome and video overview of the online courses for English 1301. So I may not be in your specific class, but this is a current class and it's representative of what is true in all of the classes. So by now you've already explored the few things that are open, I'm sure, but I want to show you a few other things that I haven't opened yet in your class. But I want to talk about those things and give you some tips and tricks for some things that I think are useful for you to know in order to be successful in the class. By now, you've already taken a look at the course syllabus. I've seen that a lot of people are participating in the icebreaker activity and the syllabus quiz. So a couple of really easy things to start out the semester and starting nice and slow so that everybody has a chance to get acclimated. All right, I'm going to start out with something kind of exciting and shocking, but I want to qualify that. Number one, I am an AI forward professor. That might be shocking given that I teach writing and it's an online class, and there's kind of already a battle, if you will, between professors and students everywhere from the don't use AI kind of aspect. And I draw lines in the sand too. I do believe that there are boundaries that we need to respect, especially when it comes to a learning environment. I do think the rules will be a little bit different for people on the job, but even there you have to follow the policies and procedures and expectations of your company, because those policies and expectations are there for the protection of the company and the goods or services that you provide to your clients or customers. In a learning environment, we have to use it in ways that are ethical and supportive of learning and things that don't circumvent learning. Or in a class like this one, we would never want to use AI to just outright write your papers or do your homework. But there are a lot of really useful use cases that I think are ethical in my book, and for those things I will show you what they are and kind of hopefully share with you some of the useful things that I've discovered that tend to work well. It's kind of a learning curve and it's a learning process. None of us knows everything about it, and it's constantly changing, but kind of exciting times that we live in. And I'll talk in a minute about the AI policies that I have. But before I do that, I want to point out that Gemini AI Pro, the paid version of Gemini, is being offered for free for a whole year to college students who are 18 or over. And got a link here for you that goes straight to that. I'm going to highly encourage that you consider doing this, not as a means to do any of your work in any of your classes for you per se, but as a learning tool and as an aid. And let me scroll down here and show you what the terms and conditions are. If you sign up by October 6th of 2025, you'll get that free year of Google AI, and it comes with a lot of bells and whistles, a lot of features. I do know this firsthand because I do have a paid subscription to Google AI and some of the other platforms. My journey with Google AI, though, started as a free subscription too. This last spring, my husband and I, it was time for us to upgrade our phones, and we got new phones, and they happened to come with a free 6-month trial. And mine literally just expired in August, but I love it so much. I told my husband, I said, I don't know that I can give this one up. And he feels the same way. It's really good at a lot of things that are good for supporting learning, not circumventing it. So it's a really good deal, and it's free. So it doesn't get much better than that. What does it require? You've got to click here to sign up. It is going to require a Google account. Many of us probably already had a Google account. If not, it's free to sign up for. They are going to ask you somewhere in the mix to validate an STC email. So you are going to have to prove that you're a student to get this deal. And whatever day you get it, so if you sign up for it today, then that's when your trial starts and it'll expire at this time next year. If it's anything like what happened with mine, as it gets closer to the time of expiration, they do start sending you emails saying, hey, your subscription, your free trial is about to end. If you don't want to renew it, be sure to indicate that. So you're kind of given a warning about that. The great thing about this is that it's giving you access to a paid model. There is a difference between what you get in the paid models and the free versions, even though the free ones are pretty good, except maybe the usage limits are lower and you don't have as much access to the more powerful models and the higher usage limits, and you also don't have access to some of the bells and whistles. So this is my pitch, my encouragement for you to get that, not just for this class but for others. And again, I'm not advocating by any means that you're using this to do anything that is against what any of your professors say. You kind of have to play by everybody's rules when you get into a given class. But it's a really great opportunity. Highly recommend it. It's free. Doesn't get much better than that. Pronto Instant Messenger. I hope everybody has this app on your phone. Just so you know, though, when you're on a computer and you're talking to me or whatnot, it's better that you're on a computer rather than your phone. I know we all probably, send a message or read our messages on our phone, but if you're ever sending something to me, it's best if you're on your computer, because then that way you get full screen. It's easier to see when attachments are sent and things like that. But this is a really great way for us to stay in contact with each other. You can send me direct messages. You can send direct messages to other classmates. You can create groups in Pronto. And if you create groups in Pronto, I can't see what you say. And I'm not just saying that. I literally can't see what you say unless you invited me into that group. But I hope everybody feels comfortable to ask questions in the main chat and to reach out to me privately if you have a question that pertains just to you. Now, I do have a textbook in the class, but it's not one that you have to buy, so you don't have to buy a textbook at all. I didn't write this, but it is put out by the University of Georgia, and it's pretty decent. It has a lot of good basic stuff in there. I don't officially assign or make you read anything, but it's a good resource. If you wanted to look up some things about writing process or, just anything, it's a good resource here, and it's free. It's an open education resource. All of your professors have a Start Here folder, and I highly encourage that you go through it, because professors typically will tailor aspects of it to their own classes. So a lot of professors have, for example, a no AI use policy or a limited AI use policy. I have a limited one, but it's probably more generous than maybe some of your professors. College resources and services is a great one to click on, because there are links to things you might find useful. Maybe you or somebody you know might need to borrow a laptop or hotspot from the I believe it's the library, but it's first come first serve. Obviously they have a limited supply, but I've got a link here that you can click, and there's a thing you can click on for the eligibility requirements, a form to fill out if you or anybody you know might benefit from that. So pretty neat. Phone numbers and things like that. Sometimes it's hard to find things on the actual website when you're looking for it, but those have links and phone numbers here that might make it easier when you need some kind of service from the school. You'll find that in some places I have things like this. It's maybe out in the open because it's a resource that you might want to refer to. So I've got one of those here. It's a web page with information on MLA and sample papers, not necessarily sample papers on the exact kind of papers that we are writing, but it's sample papers of a variety of types, and you can see what they look like, the margins, the spacing, and things like that. Later in the semester, once we get closer to a draft, I'll talk more about this online tutoring portal. We have some great tutoring services here, for not only in person but online. And whenever you need to log into the online tutoring portal, you'll come in and choose student, put your username and password, and click log in. You can do all kinds of things here, from uploading a paper to submit it for review by a tutor, or you can also schedule virtual tutoring sessions with tutors to help you in a wide variety of subjects, not just English. So you can get tutoring in chemistry, calculus, physics, nursing classes. Pretty much if we offer it, there's some kind of tutoring probably for it, and it's pretty extensive. These things are open well into the evening, so if you ever want tutoring on some kind of subject and it's like 9 o'clock at night, chances are you'll find somebody. And you can also schedule appointments. So if you have a certain day where you have more flexibility or more of an ability to meet with somebody for some tutoring, then you can schedule something for a Thursday or a Friday or whatever the case maybe, or a weekend. So really great things here, and you'll be required for a lot of your papers to submit your papers to an online tutor to get a round of feedback from them, in addition to the other types of feedback that you'll get from me and your classmates and other sources. If we look at how the course is structured, you'll see that there's 3 main units, and those coincide with the 3 main papers that we'll write. The first one is a literacy narrative, and we'll talk more about that, once I open the content in there. You'll see and get a sense of what that's about. But let me go ahead and open this just to show you. At the top of every unit, you'll see an assignment sheet. You'll always want to click on that first. I highly recommend you print that. Anything in the course that's printable, you should print, because in that way you have it out and open in front of you. You can put it in a folder or whatnot, so that later you're not having to go hunt for it, and you can have those things to reference when you're writing something. When you click to expand a folder, you'll see the lessons that are there. And right now, I don't have these open yet, but this one's really short. This is what is a literacy narrative, kind of explaining what it is, why are we doing one, what are modes of writing, and how is this assignment going to help feed into our others. When we think of writing in a college class, we think of writing research papers, technical things, and that's true. But in an English class like this one, my job is to kind of introduce everybody to some basic conventions for writing in a college class in general. And then when you get into classes like history or sociology or physics or whatever the case, and if they're having you write papers, they will help you learn the conventions of writing in the disciplines that they teach. This first unit is, I think, a nice way to ease into the semester. It's not a research paper. It's going to be based on your own experience with some aspect of literacy, and that literacy could be related to reading, writing. It could be related to other things, because to be literate in something is to have developed, or to have tried to develop some kind of skill or competence in some kind of domain. A lot of times when we use the word literacy, we think of reading or writing, and it's certainly that, and many people will write about that. But it also encompasses other things as we will see. So there's no research here. This is based on your own life, your own experience, and so it's different than what you may be asked to do in other papers. So we'll spend a fair amount of time on that, about a third of the semester on that, nice and slow, and plenty of time to perfect. One thing we need to be aware of is that we do 3 drafts for every single paper that we do in the course. We always have a rough draft, and that's always graded on very specific things. It's graded on completion, authenticity, did you do it yourself and not AI? Did you make a good faith effort, and did you make an attempt to follow the directions and the examples given not only on the assignment sheet but also in the lessons in the course? And if you do all of those things, even if the essay is not perfect, which to be honest, none of us are perfect usually on the very first go, it might be very good, but there's always room for improvement. So we're not even looking for perfection on the rough draft. We're just looking for an execution. A good faith effort in trying to do it on a first go, and then we have plenty of time to mold and shape that into a final draft. Draft 2 is always graded on just revision, and that's not spelling, grammar, and punctuation. That's content-based deep revision on the content, the execution, and the overall objective of the paper. So it's a lot of elbow grease that goes into revision. We get feedback on that. We weigh the feedback. We judge the feedback. We evaluate it. We don't just follow advice blindly, not even mine. So you always have to think carefully, not only about what you think you need to do to improve a paper, but listen and evaluate the suggestions that you get from others, and for the ones that you agree with, you apply those in an effort to improve your paper. And that's graded specifically on revision, and I have a very specific process that will follow so you can show me just how much hard work you put in between the drafts. So it's graded largely on effort and evidence of that effort, a good faith effort. And then, of course, the final drafts are graded on everything. That's kind of like game day. If you're a basketball coach or a baseball coach or a volleyball coach, you spend a lot of time practicing, working, perfecting, repeating skills so that you get better and better at them, so that when it's game day, you can execute the plays and you can play your best game. So it's kind of the same thing here. The final draft is like game day, and that's where everything counts. And as you know, if you've read the whole syllabus, you know that everybody gets a free rewrite on one paper, either paper 1 or paper 2. I can't offer it on the end, so let me scroll down here. The final draft. Let's say on paper 1 somebody gets a C on the final draft. Well, you have a safety net. So if you want to strive for a higher grade, you don't have to just accept that C. You can invoke your right to the rewrite policy. And the only thing I ask that you do in order to be eligible for that is that you have to have turned in a complete, on-time, final draft for that essay. So if you don't turn something in at all, there's no rewrite policy to invoke. You can't rewrite something you didn't turn in to begin with. So it's really important in the class to participate. Sometimes students might have so much fear or worry about being perfect that they don't turn in a rough draft or maybe a revised draft, and they're kind of agonizing too much. But you've got to turn in the things that you need to turn in so that we have something to work with. So even if you got a C or even lower on this, as long as it was a good faith effort and it wasn't something that you just ran through AI or something that you didn't follow directions. Maybe I asked you to write a literacy narrative and you wrote one about some other aspect of your life. That's kind of like when you go to a restaurant and you ask for a steak and they give you lobster. Even if you like lobster but you ask for steak, you're going to send that back and say, well, this is good and I appreciate it, but I wanted a steak. So that's the kind of thing here. You have to make sure that you're writing the kind of paper that you were asked to. So the 3 main courses or the 3 main units kind of follow a progression. First one's a literacy narrative, and the next 2 are research papers. The first one is more of a guided research paper. There's a little bit more hand holding here. There is more guidance, and there's me taking some of the load off of your plate in terms of finding the sources for you and saying choose from these, so you're not spending so much time agonizing and searching, so that we can focus on the process. So this is where we're really going to focus on the process, spend some time on that. And then when we get to the last one, this is a research paper that's going to be more independent, where now you've kind of got some workflows in place, and so when I give you this, you're going to be able to kind of hit the ground running with that one and work a little bit more independently, but always with me waiting in the wings if anybody needs any help, and always with lots of examples as well. At the end of the semester, of course, we have a final exam. That is usually the equivalent of kind of a one draft paper. I give you something ahead of time that you can prepare, and I don't bother with, in my online classes, putting you on honor lock or a timer. I hate doing that, but I will ask you to I'll use the honor system. My in-class students, they only get 2 hours on the final exam, but they get a lot of time to prepare for it, just like you will. So I generally ask you all to do the same thing. I'll give you something, I'll say take all the time you need to prepare, but on the day of, only spend 2 hours on it and call it a day, because if you were in my face-to-face class, that's all you'd get. So the idea here is that you come in prepared. It's easier to write. You're not agonizing over it for a whole week or something. So that's honor system. I don't want to deal with the whole, police. I'm not going to have you get a camera and all of that. I trust you until I have a reason not to. So that's kind of the basic overview. I do want to go back up to the syllabus. I know you've already read it, but just to make sure, because I know the syllabus quiz was so easy, it might be tempting for some students to just kind of skip or skim and maybe not read the fine print. But I just want to briefly go over the AI policy so that we kind of know what to expect there. It's really transparent. It's really kind of simple and straightforward. Here we go. These are the general guidelines, for it. I'm not going to read them, but I'm just going to talk about it. So we are going to use AI at times as part of a process to do something, but we're always using it in ways that I believe to be ethical. And I had a student a few semesters back that said it best. He said, well, I think we should use AI the same way we would use a person, like a tutor. You go to a tutor or you go to a teacher. So if you come to my office and you say, hey, Ms. Bell, or I know you may not be on campus, but like let's say if you meet with me online and you're like, hey, Ms. Bell, I want some help on this paper. Well, of course I'm going to help you, but I'm not going to write it for you. We're going to talk about it. I might show you some examples. I might, if you're working on a line or a paragraph, I might show you some strategies. I might write something on the fly and say, well, here's a little example that illustrates that, but I'm not going to actually rewrite a paragraph for you. I'm not going to write an essay for you. I'm going to guide you through that. And the same way with the tutor. And so he said, well, I think we should use AI like you would if you were getting help from a person. And I said, well, yeah, that's a really great way of thinking about it, and that's by and large the primary way that we're going to use it. There are a few other ways that we can use it too that are also ethical, but we aren't ever going to use it to do an assignment for us except under very certain circumstances where maybe we're offloading something very small, very specific, and letting it do that, so that frees up some time for us to focus on some higher order thinking. So I just want to make it clear that we won't be using it to do our work for us. We won't be using it to write our essays for us or even to rewrite them. I've already had a couple of students this semester ask me some really good questions like, oh, can we use Grammarly? And I said, well, you can use Grammarly to help with the grammar, but don't use the part where it paraphrases what you have, because then you're going to lose your voice. You're going to lose your personality. Everybody has a personality when they write. The word choice, the sentence style, it's the part of your writing that makes you you. And you don't want to lose that by taking something that you wrote and then, letting something or somebody paraphrase it for you. So if you came to my office or to a tutor and you said, hey, here, I've got this paragraph and I'm pretty happy with the content, but if you asked me or a tutor to rewrite it for you, in different words, we would say, I won't do that, but I'll help you execute this in your voice and in your style. So I just want to make that part clear. And we're always going to have transparency and disclosure when we use it. And so if I ask you to use it, I'll also be collecting your AI thread, which is your conversation with the AI platform that I ask you to use. And I'll show you how to save the thread. Most of the AI platforms now, they have a share link, but I like to use an extension called AI Archives because it saves a copy of the thread, and it works for ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, and also Meta, but I don't use Meta or have not tried that yet. I use the other main platforms. And then there's another Chrome extension that is kind of a backup for if AI Archives ever doesn't work. But when we do something that involves AI, there's the submission of the AI chat thread. There is always a reflective writing component so that we're reflecting on what we did specifically. We're evaluating the outputs of AI because not all the things that we get out of AI are perfect or good. So you still have to make sure that you're thinking critically and evaluating what is there. So we do kind of color between the lines, but there's still some generous use cases for it, and I'll be sharing you some of the success cases of how it has really helped some students. Again, not write their papers for them, but help position them to be able to write papers and do really well on their own merits. I am a big proponent of academic integrity, and so I really do expect and trust everybody to do the right thing. I do know that once we get out of school, that using AI in the workplace is going to be different. You'll be able to do some things to just outright, automate or be more like an assistant in ways that, may be ethical and appropriate if your company deems those uses appropriate. But we do have to be careful here in terms of that. So to the extent that if there's ever any kind of question in my mind about the authenticity of a paper, I do, here it is, this is the part I was looking for, is that that will require a meeting. And if I ever ask you for a meeting about something, first of all, it may not even have anything to do with that. But if it does, it's not an accusation, it's a conversation. So maybe it's something just after we talk for a bit, whatever concerns I had might be alleviated. If they're not, we'll have a conversation until, it reaches a satisfactory conclusion. And I will say, if it does turn out that somebody tried to take a shortcut, and and I'm sensing that, or I know that in some cases, I appreciate honesty. I would much rather somebody come clean and have it be a learning opportunity than to have some other kind of outcome. Sometimes when I ask for a meeting, it might be a situation where I can already prove the use, but I appreciate when people are forthcoming. But I'm hoping that we can all just start off and kind of know that we're going to get to use it in useful ways, and trust me on that. But also to respect the boundaries of the classroom and the learning environment of the classroom, because I want to read your work. If I wanted to read AI stuff, I could just generate some AI essays and read those. But essays written by people are a whole lot more interesting and well developed, and they have that special something that AI may not be able to replicate as well, even though it can write some things really, really well. So I've probably, as always, forgotten something really important in this overview that I have left out. But if I have, we'll pick that up at another point. I think the only other thing I wanted to say, and I can't remember if I have already said it or not in this video, is that one of the pitfalls of working in a class like this is it can be tempting to just click on the assignments and wing it from there and skip all of the lessons. But I don't recommend doing that because it often doesn't result in good outcomes. You've missed all the examples, you've missed the lessons, and so on. So highly recommend that you go through those things and that you reach out to me or to the class. Remember, you guys can, a lot of times students can answer each other's questions in Pronto. So if I'm not available, or if somebody else knows, or not even just if I'm not available, but if you know the answer to something, then please jump in and help whoever asked a question in Pronto. If you already did an assignment and you had the hang of it, let's jump in and help each other out. So that's it. That's a wrap. But I do want to, say that I'm really glad to have each and every one of you in the class and want to welcome you not only to this class but to S2C. And I hope that this is a great semester in this class and in all of your classes. If you need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. Y'all have a great day, afternoon, morning, whenever you happen to be watching this. I'll wrap that up. I'm going to say one last thing. I'm going to back up. Is when I put this into a video quiz, it'll be really important to watch it all the way through. And then once you're done with that assignment, and I'll put a reminder in there, don't click back in it because if you do, it resets the quiz. So for things like this, I usually put them in a video playback quiz where you don't have to answer any questions. You just have to watch all the way through. And then when you do, click out. The grades don't push to the grade book until after the deadline passes. So if you took it at 7 o'clock at night, don't click back in just to see what it says, because if you do, it'll reset the quiz and it goes back to a 0, and then you'd have to watch the video again. So I'll just say that one thing. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it. Y'all have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon.